Hi, my name is Amy Cagle, and I chose to do my career profile on a marriage and family therapist. I was lucky to be able to interview a friend of mine via phone. He is someone that I've known since early childhood and trust very much. This profile does cover all the information needed in the guidelines of the assignment, but I do want to note that there's also a lot of personal views in here, as my friend has had experience in both clinical and private practices. And so I'll kind of be feeding those both in. So I apologize that it's a little biased, but for me it was a great opportunity to really hear someone give me some good sound advice, and I feel it helped me know what to look for and what to be careful of. His name is Daniel Burgess. He does have a website. It's danielaburgess.com. That one is actually his blog, and it's called Family and Life Solution. He is also on Facebook, and he lives in Sunnyvale, California. I do have other contact information, including email and a phone number. I do want to say that technically he is considered a marriage and family therapist trainee. He does not currently have his license, but he has passed his MFTs, both the written exam and the board, and he will be licensed shortly. However, in California, there are some loopholes to get around actually being licensed but still having a private practice. He has been in this kind of field for 15 years, and I didn't get all the information of how he is able to have a private practice, but there are ethical ways around having license at before starting your practice, and so he's been doing this for a little while as he continued forward in his education. The work environment, it varies. In clinical, it varies in size. It depends on what kind of agency you work for. If you work for the government, he's worked in a variety of them, and what he feels that the work hours are where you have to be flexible. There can be demands on your time and when and where that happens, and it may cut into family time. And you also need to be flexible in the needs of your clients and your caseloads. And it may not always be family friendly. You are under a supervisor, so oftentimes your treatment is limited to what they approve, and that has typically probably called the hardest part of that kind of work environment. For private practice, you have the flexibility of your hours and caseloads and treatment plans. Independent treatment options are very important, and as well as the service that you're able to provide. Since he does have his own practice, he does not only just practice marriage and family therapy, but individual and child therapy, group therapy, public speaking, workshops, consultations, content contributor, as well as webinars. The typical stressors, many of them are the same, but the differences are that in clinics, your hands are sometimes tied and you're not always in control of your therapy. You need to follow certain guidelines and rules and regulations set by the agency or government, and they may not be the best course of action for your client, so that becomes stressful. The other thing is you typically have longer hours and get paid less, and although for many people who just have a desire to work out there and help others, that's great, but there's also a higher rate of burnout as opposed to private practice. The stressors of private practice come mainly from where you're going to get your clients. In clinical situations, they are more advertised, or they're part of the government, and so it's easier to have caseloads there, and generally oftentimes they're overloaded with cases. But from a private practice, you need to be skilled at networking and just putting yourself out there so that you can find the clients that need the assistance that you have. And part of that also is that you do have the flexibility of doing other things like webinars and other services he provides. So even if you do not have a large clientele, there are other ways to earn income and to help other people. Another thing is benefits, and so I'll combine those two together, is that we're a clinical, especially if you work for the government, you generally have benefits taken care of. But in private practice, you need to provide your own health insurance. If you work for someone that has a private practice, generally they won't cover health care, but you do have to keep that in mind if you want to have your own private practice. But the other stressor could be that you don't have other cohorts there to bounce ideas off if you just have questions or want help with a particular client. You don't necessarily have that right at your hand. However, it is there's like huge networking opportunities. We have learned that as well. But you can find the benefits. You can find your own circle of trusted professionals that you would go to with any kind of questions. So we covered the benefits, how it varies in clinical, but generally you'll get some sort of benefits. And then private, you need to take care of your own. The difference in the jobs, I mean, in either place you are providing therapy, counseling for different clientele depending on what your focus is, or if you have a broad range of focus, it could be various things. But the difference is that the clinic, there are tons of paperwork, and he feels that generally this creates even more problems because it can take the focus off of the client's need, and that just the over documentation sometimes makes it difficult to treat particular clients. But in private, you have a little more flexibility in your treatment plan, as I kind of mentioned before. Education. Now, his advice here was to really explore your options, particularly when it comes to the BA, that you can do your bachelor's in many, many things, and his experience is that his master was the most important part of his experience because it gave him real great knowledge, a step ahead. Everything that you're learning, you will learn, more there. And he says if you feel like you have anything else you want to learn about, do that while you're doing your bachelor's, and then go on to get your master's so that you can get the experience you want in your field. Now he says do whatever you want as long as you're enjoying it. Go as fast as you can in school while you can still enjoy it at the same time, and that way you'll retain your knowledge better. Salary. In clinics, general starting salary is between $25,000 to $30,000, and that's even sometimes with your master's. Some places it starts higher depending on the area of the country that you're at, and you can start as high as $60,000 and just go up from there based on your experience level. However, private practice, he personally started at $125 an hour, and even though there's an argument of, there's overcost when you have your own practice, through his experience, and he has determined that he still gets about $75 an hour take-home pay after everything that he needs to put out in order to have his own practice, which is still far better than $15, $20, even $30 an hour that you can get otherwise. Now he says that it's worth it, and some people question private practice and how much they charge. But in the long run, typically clients can have a shorter span of treatment that they need from a private practice versus typical clinics and things like that. So really in the end, he feels that it can save people money. Let's see. So that is about all that I have. He definitely enjoys what he does, and he encourages everyone who is interested to continue in their learning and to seek all opportunities to learn and to grow. He does say that his biggest piece of advice is to figure out what is needed and acceptable in each state. Something personal that he has had experience in from state to state that has caused sometimes his career to kind of have to take a step back. So whatever field you're going into, he says make sure that if you know where you're going to be, then follow the guidelines. Make sure that your education and your licensing and certificates are all on course with where you're going to live. And if you do have to move, just make sure that you're on top of it and finding out what you need in state to state. So that was his biggest piece of advice as we kind of look forward. Thank you for listening to my profile, and good luck.